Peace and salutations to the elect men of Israel, starting with the elder apostles of GMS on down to the rest of you brothers and the brothers that I labor with, who are diligently pushing forth the will and doctrine of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, in all faith, truth, and sincerity, according to the true understanding of the scriptures. To all of you, I say Shalom. So this is Philippians 4 and verse 12. And before I read it, but this is gonna be like a land back to the lesson that the brother did. The brother Padai, one of the brothers I labor with, one of the beloved brothers. And the lesson he did is called "Distrust not the fear of the Lord when thou art made poor." Right, and it was a beautiful lesson going into, you got to continue to fear the Lord, have your faith in Him and trust in Him in the moments that you may be brought low. He went on to explain like how you see people in the world like celebrities. They always talk about all the good that's came to them, and like how he was saying like you hear celebrities say like blessings on top of blessings. You know what I'm saying? Blessings on blessings on blessings, basically, right? And it was funny because the other day I was having a conversation with someone, and I was saying everybody likes to hear the good that's within the word, but they never want to deal with the bad within the word, And the Lord deals with both good and evil, The word is bitter, sweet and bitter, So you got to deal with both of them, because you're supposed to deal with the whole book itself, You can't add nor take away from the word, So, and that's what made the example he used mentioning Job being so good but so important, because he had riches, he had everything, but it was taken away, right? Ultimately proving his faith, and then he was given even greater than what he had before, And that leads me to what I'm gonna get to in this lesson, those moments where you are brought low, is to try your faith, but to also help you be even stronger, even better, because if you already are built up to deal with these things, when things get hot and heavy, you are already accustomed to how it is you're supposed to deal with it, You're not going to be faint-hearted. You're not going to be tossed to and fro, all because you took the time to deal with the good and bad, You made sure to have a balance within yourself, right? You made sure that your ways pleased the Lord, to where He made your enemies at peace with you, But it's like what the brother had said on past highways. If you not being afflicted, or going through things now, you more likely not doing something right, because we supposed to be dealing with the good and the evil, That's hope, you being able to deal with all that's thrown at you, by trusting in the Lord, fearing the Lord and putting your faith in Him, knowing that you need Him to get through it, And a lot of accounts within our history, you see that our people forgot that they needed the Lord because they got so caught up in trying to do things how they want to, and forgetting that they're supposed to do things in a way that the Lord set it up to be dealt with, you know. And because our people turned away from the Lord, all this tribulation, hardship, troubles, woes, if you will, came upon them, and it wasn't until some specific, chosen man, chosen prophet, Salak, was chosen to be able to deal with the word, to deal with his word, to deal with his spirit, to be seeking him, fearing him, and turning back, repenting, and being made in a moment of weakness stronger, Like one of my favorite scriptures is when the Lord was talking to Moses, right? And this was just before the Lord was about to send Moses out, to start getting our people out of slavery, out of the house of bondage, out of Egypt, But real quick, I'll bring this out. This is Exodus chapter 4 and verse 10. It says, "And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue." You see, so he wasn't well equipped to speak in a high manner. This is a moment or in a position that he's weak in. But then the Lord goes on to say this. It says, "And the Lord said unto him, Who had made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord?" You see? So the Lord has control of all these things, And it's like a moment of him not quite yet seeing it, But the Lord showing him, like, basically the scripture I'm about to get, Like, you could do all things through the Lord, He says, verse 12, "Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say." You see? And that's what's so beautiful about the Lord and fearing the Lord and putting your trust in him, in the moments that you may be brought to a low state, That's like what it says in it's like what it says in Sirach, the second chapter, Let's all grab real quick, and then I'll go to that Philippians. Yeah, I'll just read from the top. The point is in verse 4. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation," And that's gonna be moments that's troubling, having to deal with with temptation, It says, "Set thy heart aright, and constantly endure. Make not haste in time of trouble," Don't just be moving all over the place, It's like the example of the brother ended his lesson with, giving the example of how men may speak, in a moment of fearing, being faint-hearted, but not fearing the Lord, "Oh no, man, if this Hebrew Israelite thing is, most having doubt, but you aren't to doubt the Lord, because his word, the Lord's word doesn't go out void, and he's not a man that he shall lie. So when he says he's your strength, when he says he's your rock, you being founded upon him, how you not gonna be moved, and all these and all of the inheritance and the promises that you are to receive, if you make it to the end, right? And if you continue to lean upon him, right? Have your mind focused on him, right? You're going to receive those things, That's why it says this. But continuing, it says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased, you see, at thy last end, So even in a moment where things are tough, time of trouble, right? When all hell breaking loose and the chaos is starting to hit, Esau trying to go as hard as he can because he see his house coming down, You still cleaving to the Lord, you still holding on to him as far as putting your trust in him and doing what it is he said to do. You putting yourself in position to be increased, And it says, verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. You see? So even in a moment that you in a low estate, you are putting your trust in him, It says, verse 6, it says, believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. It says, ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, because he gonna give it to you. He's gonna help you. He's gonna spare you. It says, and go not aside lest ye fall. You see? Because you may go through pains, or you may go through hardships, and things may be tough, but again, it's only to help build you up, And that's I'm gonna grab this real quick. No, 2 Corinthians. Twelve and 9. It says, and he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. You see, and this is talking about this is Paul talking about in the moments, when Satan is messing with him, in the ways that he does, similar or in likeness, if you will, to Job's situation, not being exactly the same, but nonetheless, Satan still trying to, put him through hell, if you will, just like he did with Job. And we'll have moments of going through that, but we're not going to perish, We aren't going to die a terrible death, It's only to make us stronger. It's only to make us better, right? And that's why he says that my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. It says, most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Mashiach may rest upon me. It says, therefore, I take pleasure in my infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Hamashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. You see? And the reason that is because that's the moment where you are being completely humble. For those of you that's fearing the Lord, for in those moments when you fearing the Lord and you putting your trust in Him, knowing I need you, Lord. You know, we don't want to be amongst this world, this wicked ass world, having to deal with all the bullshit that comes our way. You know, everything around us is at our neck, right? But it allows us to, with us paying attention to those things, it allows us to be prudent, to be privy, and to be in a position of being in the know, how to escape these things, how to be under the tower of the Lord, you know what I'm saying, under His protection, under His wings, you know? And that's why we are to deal with the good and the bad, right? Jump into that Philippians 4:12. I'll read verse 13 and then jump to 12. It says, I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me. You see? Why? Because verse 12, I know both how to be abased and I know how to abound, you know? So you know how to be low, having nothing, and knowing how to, being high, having some, but having to be balanced. You gonna deal with the good, but you gotta also deal with the bad. That's like how it talks about in I think it's Revelation. I think the third chapter, when it talks about the eating of the roll and how it was sweet in the mouth but bitter in the belly. It's sweet because the beautiful things that come with it, but also how you got to deal with the bitter pieces. It's the good and the evil. You got to know both so you understand what a just balance is with the Lord. What a just balance is within your measure. It says, everywhere and in all things, I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. You see? Because right now, we're not made full, if you will, in this corruptible flesh. But through the Lord's word and us cleaving onto His word, are we able to be full, And at the end, when this world ends and Jacob's world begins, that's when we will be made whole and complete. That's why we are to take these things cheerfully, having to deal with these things. And one of the scriptures that the brother brought out, which was a good one too, was Hebrews 12 and 10 and 11, right? And it says, for they verily, for a few days, chasten us after their own pleasure, but He for our profit, and that chastening that He does, the Lord, right, is for our profit. It's to help us be better. It says that we might be partakers of His holiness. It says, now no chastening for the present. You see, the things that we deal with now, right? The hard things that we deal with now, Basically, the Lord disciplining us, us being tried and us going through troubling things, things that aren't easy, the things that aren't so great to that you typically hear and see people boast about, But it says, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, you see, but grievous, you know? So it's something that you grieve, it's something that's painful, something that hurts, that isn't good, as far as how it feels, but it's ultimately good for you. Because it go on to say, nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth a peaceable fruit of righteousness. You see? And that's experience that comes with wisdom and knowledge and understanding of what this is, of how to deal with this, or the know-how and the know-why, and what it is that's needed to be done afterwards, all right? To continue to keep going, keep building, to keep fighting. It says, afterward it yieldeth a peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. You see? So, and that makes me think of the other one that the brother had brought out, or he had quoted, being Ecclesiastes 7. And it was verse 3. I'm gonna start at verse 2. It says, it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. It says, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. It's better to be in the house of mourning, because it's in those moments that you're going to be made better, right? And that's what it go on to say in verse 3, right? It says, sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. You see? It says in the NLT, sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us, and we're looking to be made better, cleaving onto the Lord's word, because we understand what the Lord's word does for us, 2 Timothy 3:16. All right, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, The moments you need correction are the moments that you may be going off, The moments you need reproof is to acknowledge how you may be missing the mark, or how you may be feeling something troubling, something uneasy, and it's because of this, or because you weren't doing this, or you weren't doing that, however it may be, or it may just be to prepare you for something better that's to come, knowing how to deal with not having this in this specific moment or this specific scenario. So that way, when something greater is given to you, right, it doesn't happen the same way. It doesn't happen again. You've been made stronger, better, wiser. You know what I'm saying? More well equipped to deal with these different type of things. But it says for correction, for instruction, and righteousness. You see? So this word is what's going to instruct us to do what's right, to do what's good, right? It's going to help us to be able to deal with the things that aren't easy to deal with, that are troubling to deal with. So it says that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So that's why such an important thing to make sure that you continue to fear the Lord in the moments that you may be made poor or brought low in moments of you being in distress, you know. The moments you brought low, you want to make sure that you continuing to praise the Lord. Those are the moments that you want to seek him for, you know what I'm saying, even more than you may when you know, of a high estate, you know. Those that's in the house of feasting and constantly in the house of feasting, you know. Get caught up so much in the feasting of it, the partying, you know what I'm saying, the devotion, that they, you know, can't forget the Lord, tend to forget the Lord, you know. Or they get so caught up to where when the Lord takes things to prove their faith, they then turn on the Lord, you know. And that's what Satan was trying to do with Job. Trying to tell the Lord, like, you take all these things away from him, he gonna curse you. You know? He gonna reject you, Lord. You know? But yet, with all those things being taken, he still stood for the Lord. You know? He still went on to fear the Lord and to put his trust in him completely. And that's why, even with those things being taken away, he was given greater afterwards, after having gone through those things, you know? And that's why in those moments of weakness, are we made stronger, you know? But you gotta hold, seek, and fear the Lord for that to be the outcome, you know? So that's pretty much it, you know, that's the point. And, you know, Lord willing, this was something that was edifying, you know, and it's something that can exhort those of you that are listening, you know, or watching. So definitely check out the brother's lesson that he had did, right? Distrust not the fear of the Lord when thou art made poor, you know. And his channel is Meek of Yahushua. So with that, I'm going to say, Kalam La, Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Wahawakak with Dash. Till next time, Shalom.